So I'm riding home from work and I'm at an intersection, waiting for the light to turn. I'm sitting behind another car. The next thing you know, I look to my right and a car has literally pulled up right next to me in my lane, in my spot. So now I'm pegged between a car over here and a car in the lane next to me, nowhere to go. Basically what I decided to do was just pull up a little bit and pull in front of the person who stole my spot. And hopefully this time they saw me, and that would allow me to, ride safely on. But a couple of things really bothered me about that incident, other than the lady who disrespected my space. And they were both my fault. Number one, I did not see that car coming. Had no idea it was coming until I looked and it was just there. I'm like, holy crap, where did this car come from? Second thing that bothered me is that I have been through so many classes. I've trained with Robert Simmons, I've taken the MSF class, and I've taken a whole bunch of lock and lean classes, and I was trained to pay attention. And I didn't do it that day, and I could have gotten seriously hurt. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to get some practice in, and I've set up behind me a replication of what that intersection looked like. So on the back you see my 18 Road Glide. That's the bike I'm going to practice on today. This box here represents the car that I'm sitting behind at the intersection. This row of cones represents the side of the car in the left lane. This row of cones represents the side of the car in the right lane. So what I'm going to practice today is paying attention and then pulling between these two cars and then figuring out what to do once I get to the intersection, or going in between these two cars over here, figuring out what to do and then execute. Now this might seem like a simple exercise, but it's something that we need to practice just like you'd practice anything else, because once we get into a real life situation like what I was in when I failed to do the right thing, there's no room for mistakes. Now some other variables that could happen. Here's a type of car. The box that's here is set up to be the same size as my Ford Edge, and that's where I got the dimensions for that box. But that instead of being a Ford Edge, that could be a Super Duty truck with big tow mirrors sticking out, which might impede me from coming in between these two cars and might force me to come in between these two cars. Or maybe there's a whole bunch of trucks and I've got to take off and run towards the curb to get myself out of a dangerous situation. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you is that I am not an instructor. I'm just a dude that likes to ride his bike. But the reason I'm making this video is I'm hoping to encourage you to think about what your process will be when you come to an intersection, because that's what I'm working on today, is just practicing it, because I got to get this drill down so that the next time, hopefully there's not a next time, but if and when there's a next time, I'll do the right thing this time. The other thing you can do is make sure you take some classes from reputable sources. There's a lot of options out there. I've taken the basic riding course, I've been training with Robert Simmons, and I've taken lock and lean. And I've learned exercises in all those courses that are going to help me here today. All right, let's do it. Before I get started, I want to recognize the sponsors for riding and wrenching. We have Wings Customs, who made these phenomenal handlebars that are on my Road Glide. No cables, no wires, everything's run internally. It looks amazing. My other sponsor is Volunteer Audio, who installed the sound system on my 18 Road Glide. I now have Apple CarPlay. I've got a 6-speaker setup with an amplifier. Sounds incredible. So check them out and let them know that Q the Rider sent you. So I'm going to be stopped at the intersection waiting, and so right now I see a car. It doesn't look like they're going to stop. Now one thing that's real important for me is to make sure I leave enough space between the car that stopped and my bike so that I don't have to execute a crazy turn or something. I want to be able to take off and move quickly because you may not have a lot of time. So let's do it again. Now, in this particular example, I've chosen to be on the right side of the lane. I really don't like this side of the lane because if there's a car stopped behind me, they have clean eye shot to the car that's in front of me. They may not be paying attention, and if this car comes off their brake lights or just start to move a little bit, that might trigger the car behind me to start moving, and they're going to hit me. I prefer being on the left side of the lane. I normally won't be in the middle of the lane because you're more likely to have oil dripping from cars that are having problems, and they're going to drip right in this area. So in this situation, I have the same challenge. I can either go between the two cars to the right, or I've got to make a maneuver and make it between those two cars without hitting a cone. Now in this example, I'm tailgating. I'm right on the bumper of the car that's in front of me. So now if I've got to make an evasive maneuver, I've got to go to the left or right, and it's a lot more technical turn, and it's going to take me more time because I've got to move over there, line up so that I can get out, and it's just going to be a lot more difficult and slower, and you might not have time. But if I get stuck here, I'm going to turn my handlebars and have them set up already. Now that I have a decent amount of following space, it's a straight line and it's nice and easy. Another challenge might be I can't go through either side, and I got to just take off and go straight that way or go straight this way. And there's a car here and possibly a car over there, so I've got to navigate between other cars that are probably tailgating or probably right on the bumper, and you got to assess that when you pull up. I think the moral of the story here is give yourself space, be prepared, pay attention. This is not the time to look at your phone, because I don't know which one of those I was doing, but I was doing something other than watching that car come up behind me, because that car was about this far from me. I got really lucky that day, and I don't want to depend on luck. I want to depend on my skills and focusing so that I don't get hit. So hopefully that helped you. Again, I'm hoping to inspire you to think about what you're going to do when you come up to an intersection. If you're not sure what to do, take some classes, think about it, give it some thought, apply some common sense to it. But these are the steps that I take. I'm analyzing the situation as I come up to it, figuring out what my escape route's going to be when I come to a stop, make sure I have enough room between me and the car in front of me. And then the rest of the time I'm looking in the rearview mirror, observing everything coming up from behind. And the minute that I see something that doesn't look right, that's when it's time to execute one of the maneuvers that I demonstrated today. So I'm going to keep practicing here for a little while, and again, hopefully next time I will have been paying attention and do the right thing the next time. This is Q. I'm riding, I'm wrenching, and I am out.
I asked him if he had a Q stick with him because he's a pool player.
I am a pool player.
He said, I don't need a Q stick. I'll beat you with a broomstick,
a
house cue, a toothpick, my finger. Yep. I'll just beat you regardless.
And then I'll beat you. I'll beat your children. If you got grandkids, I'll beat them too. I'll take them all, man. Bring them on.
But hey, man, my name's Tim Marshburn. My channel's Papa D Rides.